Welcome to the Change With Him podcast. My name is Gerard Uselli, and we are on episode 53. What an unbelievable journey to really explore the perspectives of change of so many different guests, one person at a time. This is a great friend of mine, and also no exception to the rule on this one, a man who's done it all and adapted to everything, Richie Sorrentino. Richie, how are you today?
What's up, man? What's going on? See, like how you said what you said? I'm creating memories 1 week at a time. That's all I'm doing. Just trying to, keep it moving. How's everybody doing today? What's going on, my friend? Good to be
Everything
here. My
is
pleasure.
great. Everything is absolutely great. And just to get right into the questions, something that I always ask all of my guests is what your childhood was like growing up.
What was it like? All right, let's see. Typical Staten Island boy. Went to public school. Got into a lot of trouble. What else can we say? Childhood. Played sports. Was big basketball. Played on a lot of basketball teams. Was actually pretty good at basketball. Typical white kid. Can only shoot 3-pointers. Typical white kid. That's pretty much it. I don't know what else you want me to tell you. For how young childhood we going here. Depends how young you want to go here,
Well, I'm going to say this, and this is something I've said a lot about Staten Island as far as people playing sports at a young age. And this is just one of my opinions and hot takes about families on Staten Island. Don't you feel like parents especially are more competitive than their kids when they actually play sports?
Oh, yeah, some of them, without a doubt. See, my parents didn't attend a lot of my games and stuff, but there was a lot of parents that did. And they definitely, if you were like the coach's son, forget it. Those kids, they got, they were riding them, like, come on. And then like those kids, half of them didn't even have the talent, but they were riding them, man.
You're literally in a circle of favorites. Like, as you have like the connections to the coach, right? Let's say if the coach's son, you'll have your 5 essential people revolved around that circle. They'll be the starters for everything. And then the others are just like, yeah, we're going to cheerlead on the sidelines for no reason at all.
It's true. It's true. It's facts. It's true. That's how it was with some things. Listen, I played a lot of different leagues, a lot of different things. I played Holy Rosary over here in Staten Island. I played St. Anne's. I played a lot of the PAL, the basketball, the PAL after school program. Played a lot with them. A lot of intramural leagues. You name it, Staten Island. Played in a lot of leagues. I played in up until about sophomore, junior year of high school. Then it was all going out with girls and doing music business stuff.
And speaking of which, to get into that, because as you were just going on about all the different things you were doing just in basketball and meeting people at such a young age, tell me about the first time you ever promoted something. Did you feel like you had natural talent at it, or did you feel like you had to work harder from the jump?
It all happened luck, man. Honestly, it was a luck, right place, right time thing. I would go to, I don't know if you remember the place, you're a little younger than me, but some people on here might remember. Okay, so there was a place, Atlantis on Midland. Atlantis.
Oh, okay.
Right by IS2 area, okay? So we used to go there for teen nights. Maybe we went to a few other places, but that's one place I remember talking about. They changed names so many damn times, but that was one of the places we went to a lot. And somewhere along the lines, I had an older cousin, he DJ'd. I really didn't have anything to want to do with that. He was about 15 years older than me, but it was always mentioned like, you're outgoing, he's outgoing. But I never really pursued that at that point. But I was going to these teen night things. And then, one day someone's like, Rich, a lot of people, half the people who are coming here, they're your friends. Why don't you make money and make a guest list? I'm like, wait, I can get paid to come here and have a guest list? And that's kind of how that all started. And there was the Lane or the Lane, that's closed now, but I'm sure you've seen it.
Yep.
But that was a spot when I was in high school. Eminem was there, the rapper. Worked with him over there when he had the first album.
Absolutely. And then also in the retrospect of having so many people around you, like, how did it feel to have that continuous ratio of just getting people in like different spots throughout Staten Island? Did you feel like you were able to retain a following even like from the beginning of it? Like, do you feel like the luck kind of just spans out throughout like your DJing?
Okay, well, in the beginning, I wasn't DJing yet. In the beginning, it was more or less, I was just promoting. I didn't even DJ. I didn't even touch DJ equipment. I even know in the beginning, it was more or less I was promoting. And
Definitely.
I didn't even realize I was promoting. I was just inviting friends out and getting paid. So I never considered myself a promoter. And they were at my events. It was other people's events. They planned it, they booked it. And it was like, hey, here's a list. You get paid. Here's some free drinks. Had my fake ID, whatever the case. Some stuff was T-night stuff. Some stuff we would go to Webster Hall, Limelight. 17-year-old, 16-year-old kid. I was going Limelight at 23 years old. I had ID for. But yeah, statute of limitations. I can say that now, right? So what you call it? So over time, we built a core group of guys that also did similar things, but they had guest lists. And then we started branching off and doing our own things. And that's basically where, like, I guess you would say, we started building a following. We had Staten Island Party Network. We had Jersey Shore Party Network. I'm probably skipping years here of what went first. But once we started doing different things, then we started booking our own acts. Little kids, I was working at like CBS, Pathmark. I didn't have the greatest jobs. So for me to save up money and book a talent, I took numerous hours just to book this talent,
Absolutely.
Then as we'll go on in the story, I'll tell you how all the lucky things called breaks. But I'll let you ask the questions here. I won't overtalk you. Go ahead.
Yes, fair enough. And kind of just a follow-up question from what you were just talking about. What do you think was the biggest adrenaline rush for you DJing at parties? Like, what did you like the most about it in the moments?
Okay, well, I was more of an MC when we did more like the nightlife stuff and concerts, more of an MC. I was like a hype man. I don't shut the hell up. My Uncle Pete used to always call me walkie-talkie, and this when I was 6 years old. The guy always said, walkie-talkie, shut the hell up. So I never shut up. As I'm over-talking you now, I don't shut up. So, it is what it is. But in terms of DJing, when I did DJ, I did more of the weddings, sweet 16s, communions. But when I did do clubs, because I did do some, when I did do the clubs and I got asked to, or I had up for somebody big, or there was times I headlined in clubs too. I didn't feel I ever deserved to, but they let me do it. So what was cool about doing a club compared to like a wedding, you play what the hell you want. So the biggest rush was you're playing the track you want, and when people are chanting and they, it's one of those things you can't really put words into unless you're watching it, Like, I'll send you a video and you can show the fans later on afterwards or something. But like, once you see videos of yourself doing it, what you're thinking of the moment, it's more or less like, I don't want to fuck up. Then you're watching it on video years later and it's like, damn, this is cool. People chanting, people doing crazy things. But yeah, it's a good feeling, man. It was a great feeling, good feeling.
You feel like you're kind of like, especially when you look back on something like that, it's all cherished in what that 5 to 10 minutes of video is. And you kind of get like shocked in yourself. Like, I can't believe I was in front of so many people.
Without a doubt.
Crazy.
Right at the time, I had no freaking clue. Like, let's say even if it was 500 people, 200 people, 2,000, whatever it was, I had no clue until like years later looking back, like, damn, I did that thing. Damn, I managed that place. Damn, I worked this. I did a lot of stuff. K2 Beatstock, KTU, Z100 Jingle Ball. I would do there after parties, BB Kings. So especially the K2 Beatstock, I had a lot of pull in that. That was another thing. It was like right place, right time. That I was doing some stuff with KTU, and then I was trying to do my own pre-party, which wasn't allowed. But instead of them telling me, hey, listen, you can't do it, they were kind of like, listen, you could do it, but you're not doing it this year. You're going to work for us. And if you do good, then you could do what you want to do the following year. So that's how I looked out with K2 Beatstock. A lot of people know me from that. But the plan with that was never to work with them. It was always do my own show before they did their show. I already had the acts at that point. We're skipping a few years now, probably early 20s. But I was going to do my own show. Had all the 90s and early 2000s dance, hip-hop acts that were on the radio. And they basically told me, listen, you ain't doing this. And it was more like, we know you could promote. If you could promote as everyone says you can, the next year you get to MC your own pre-party. And that's how that worked.
I think also, just as a final point on this segment, is especially when you feel like, and I've definitely been there before doing events myself, you feel like you kind of have the competence just to know what you're doing until you have those primitive moments of other people who may have more control in something than you even would imagine. and they kind of humble you. And also, as someone who's done these events myself, it does get very interesting to reflect on and be like, maybe I should have just listened a little bit more, or kind of just to see, like, okay, how could I have maybe collaborated a little bit more efficiently with that person? Not to say that you did or didn't, but it is
Oh
kind
no,
of a cool
I
sense
was
of
a cocky
comparison.
little shit. I was a cocky little shit. This is known. You could Wikipedia this. I was a cocky little fuck. I wanted to be number one. And
Right.
then, it took time to realize it's a team. Without a core group of guys, you can't do anything. Like I remember I'm just gonna spitball some Staten Island places. Some people might remember. Rum Runners, Coronas, Blue Lounge was another spot.
Yeah.
I'm just spitballing random names. Epic Lounge was a place that I managed, which is now the hell is it called? Lemore's it was called at one point. I also managed it with 747. What the hell is the name of it now? Can't even think of the name of the damn place. That's how bad it is now. And then that rooftop place on the Hilton when that opened up.
Oh, above.
First person they hired was me. I booked all the acts there. First person, I didn't DJ there, but I booked all the acts. I would MC once in a while. Harris Pool, I'd work out there. A lot of things. Like I'm jumping around different years, but a lot of things it just came like the more people you met over the years, they remember. If you do the right thing by certain people, they remember you. So like, if I would have stayed a cocky little shit, and I'll say, am I allowed to say that here? I don't know if I'm allowed to say that.
Absolutely.
But if I would have said, if I would have stayed in the original mindset that I had, that I don't want to say that I was better than anybody because that wasn't really my mindset, but I really didn't see the big picture of teamwork. I didn't see it. It was like, I could do this. I'm doing good by myself. But once I realized that if we get a good team together, everybody wins.
It's so true. And then you kind of share that sense of victory with people. Now, kind of to also expand more on your circles of who you've met and how your interests from back then have played a part of you now. Like, tell me about your journey as far as getting into the wrestling industry based on stuff that you've been doing within promotions.
All right, that's actually a good story, which it kind of has to do with music. Without music, there would never be any wrestling stories.
Right.
So, okay, when I was a little kid, let's say late 80s, early 90s, my father basically forced me to watch wrestling. Forced me. Hulk Hogan's, Ric Flair's. Rick Rude's my favorite guy. If anybody has a Piss 52 yearbook, 1995, favorite person, people put like their family, their friends, whatever it was. I put Ravishing Rick Rude. He was a wrestler. Wow. That was my favorite person. I want to be him. You want to know what? You want to know why? It wasn't because he was a good wrestler. He got with all the girls. So even back then, as a straight man, I wanted to get with all the girls. So Rick Rude was my favorite guy. He was a good talker. He didn't shut the hell up. And he always had hot-looking women around him. So if anybody has that yearbook, lives in Staten Island, or they're watching this, lives in a different borough, or lives in a different state, different country, go to Staten Island, Pier 52 I went, 1995, you'll see favorite person, Ravishing Rick Rude. All right, so back to the story, the question you're asking me. How did I get into wrestling from that? Okay, so I'd go with my father. We'd go to Mexico, go on in a couple of times a year. He would work at a certain place. We get box seats. WrestleMania 10, I was sitting in box seats. It's a famous match, ladder match, Razor Ramon versus Shawn Michaels. I was there, box seats. Went to plenty of them. I didn't get to go to the Knicks that year. The Knicks were the same year, NBA Finals, where Starks missed all the shots. But the way that his job worked was we would go to wrestling, and other people would go to like basketball or hockey. But neither here nor there. So as a little kid, I watched all these guys. I never thought I'd meet them and hang out with them. So what happened was I was DJing, and again, if Staten Island people are listening to this, they're gonna know the spots. So Seduto's Ice Cream was one of the spots I would DJ a lot at. They would do meet and greets for sports players, basketball players, or wrestling, whatever the case. So I'd always do it. Once in a while, I'd bring a megaphone with me, and I would work the lines because the lines would get chaotic, And again, megaphone sort of relates back to wrestling. There's a guy, Jimmy Hart, he's a good friend of mine now, and older guy. He was also in the Gentry's music group, doo-wop group. So he's an older guy, And so the megaphone was always a big part of me watching wrestling. Was Jimmy Hart? I liked him, So I'd walk around with a megaphone. I control the line. Some fan, his name's Lewis, good guy, still does wrestling to this day.
Yeah.
And he came up to me, he goes, Rich, listen, I know you book a lot of music people, this, that, and the other. How do you talk to people? I want to book wrestling guys. Would you want to invest? Without him asking me that, I don't know if I would ever get involved into wrestling, other than doing the shows I was doing. But for me being a vendor and working with them, The guy Lewis, if he never came out to me, I couldn't say that I'd be booking talent right now.
Definitely.
I would just see him at shows. We didn't know each other. He would just come to the shows. I'd say, "What's up?" He'd say, "What's up?" And it's funny. He lives within 20 blocks from me. So small world. Me and him hit it off early 2010s. We hit it off. We did a few things together. He does his own thing now. I do my own thing. There's no bad blood. If he needs help, I'll help him. It's all about networking, whether you're doing music,
Yes.
wrestling, comedy, whatever, podcast, whatever it is you're doing, you should network with other guys. Unless they're, people you just can't tolerate, then they have to go.
And kind of also on the steps to where you do things now, so I know that you do auction items in the wrestling world. How did you get into that part of it?
Okay. So that was another one of those things. That was a random thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it like this. I hate using the word jack of all trades, so I'm not gonna use that. I'm gonna say I'm a chameleon. You put me in a certain atmosphere, I'm good to go. You couldn't put me in an urban atmosphere. I was always getting along with everybody. You put me, my sister was a big rock fan. You put me with her and her friends, I was good. Now, I was always a dance kid. Picture Night at the Roxbury. That was me. My sister was Gold Schools and Goblins. So my sister, if I went out with her, we went to a Metallica concert, I had to do my hair differently. I had to dress differently. If I went to an urban place, I was wearing my School of Hard Knocks outfits, early 2000s, Tommy Hilfiger jeans with the hook. So anyone who's around the ages of right now, probably between 35 and 45, they know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So, depending where I was, that's how I dressed. So I always was a chameleon. So I always booked wrestling guys since early 2010s, like I said. But once this pandemic hit, I saw a few guys do wrestling auctions on Facebook. And they're selling different autographs, this, that, and the other. I was never really a big collector. I collected baseball cards when I was a little kid, and then they became worthless. It's I spent good money on these cards, but then they became so, everybody had the same rookie cards. Ken Griffey Jr., Alex Rodriguez. Yeah, they were money when I bought them. Derek Jeter, I had tons, but they were worthless by the time when I wanted to sell them. So I was like, you know what? I'm never collecting again. So when I did my wrestling stuff, I would always give to little kids in the neighborhood. Hey, you want an extra wrestling autograph? I had extra, but I had a bunch in the attic. So in my apartment, I had a bunch in the attic. So what happened was, saw a few guys I knew, because a lot of us vendors, we get along. And, they were doing these auctions, and I'm standing like this. Damn, these guys are making money, And I was doing credit and stuff, and I'll get into that later on. I guess that'll be in the future question.
I was going to ask you about
that.
But
we'll get into that. But so I'm sitting down on the computer a few times, and I'm noticing 3 or 4 times. I'm like, wait a second, I have autographs. I have guys, and I worked with good names. Bret the Hitman Hart, Ric Flair, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash. Anybody watches wrestling, they know these names. So I'm saying, I guess I can easily sell these guys. The problem I had was I didn't have hundreds of different guys. I had a bunch of the same guys. So I only had the people I worked with. So the first couple of weeks I did it, selling the same guys over and over again, but I had different items. So it was cool, but I had to make trades and I had to make different deals and I had to build different connections all over the world. So now, looking back 2 years into COVID now, I guess, year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah.
Every Wednesday I go on, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, every Wednesday I go on and I sell a whole bunch of wrestling stuff. It's not the same guys anymore. It's different guys, but people from UK, they buy. People from Brazil, they buy. People from New York, they buy. There's people all over the place, but the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Pennsylvania crowd, they're still used to the in-person stuff. So they'll come out to those more than they would in the auction. People who never met a wrestler, they're going to buy in the auction. That's kind of how it is. But it was like a luck thing. It was I just happened to be watching a few times. I'm like, if these guys can do it, why can't I do it? But they collected for 20-something years. I wasn't a collector. I just happened to work with wrestling guys.
Yeah, and you never know, just on the basis of who you've networked with over time. It could be 1 or 2 conversations, and you'll feel like you may not be able to pick up everything that person is telling you, but there's going to be things that may resonate with you and be like, okay, how can I reinvent this for who I am, as far as how I get my branding out there? And this leads me to my next question with you is, what do you think it takes for good times to be guaranteed?
Well, listen, there's a lot of ways I can go with this. Let me think this one clearly. So, I'm one to always say, GTG, good times guaranteed. Now it's a whole company. It's a brand.
Yep.
So, there's beanie hats, there's shirts, there's, there's a whole website of stuff that comes out all the time. I don't even know the clothes that comes out. They just keep making stuff and I keep getting paid for it. So that's fine with me. Some printing company, became friends with them. Like, can we sell the stuff? I said, I don't care. They give me a little percentage of it. I'm not looking to kill anybody on it. If they wear the merchandise, I give them a discount if I see them in person, or I give them a discount in the auctions. But it was a slogan I used to say. So I would be like this back in the day, let's say 2007 timeframe to 2015. If I was emceeing a place, GTG, good times guaranteed. And it was just one of 30 slogans that I would say. So the reason I would say that is because when I always felt when I went out, good times should be guaranteed. Why would you want to go out and have a shitty time? I don't know about you. I want to go out and I want to have a good time. So that's where the whole good times guaranteed thing came from. So to me, if it's going to be a bad time, I'd rather sit home and watch a movie.
You could not agree more with you on that one. And I'm going to say this too, just as kind of to go into now, you as being the credit king. How did you work up to the throne?
Okay, that's a whole nother thing. Okay, so a lot of people didn't know this. I worked credit for like 3 or 4 years, okay, before the pandemic. People didn't know this. I try to keep my personal life different than, what they see on Facebook or Instagram or anything like that. Because people always saw me with pictures with celebrities. If you go on my Facebook, which we're Facebook friends, and you can show anybody my Facebook or Instagram, which Instagram I don't really use, to be honest with you. But on Facebook, you'll see a lot of celebrity pics. There's albums, music albums, wrestling albums, sports players, TV, reality stars. You name it, there's pictures of me and Scarlett Johansson, Vanessa Hudgens, this girl Kim Sazi, if you're a New York area dance fan. This girl, she became later on, she started singing wrestling theme songs. Had nothing to do with me, pure coincidence, But it was cool to see somebody that I worked with from years ago make it in wrestling. So that's pretty cool. But what was the exact question again? Sorry, I'm
yes, I just wanted to know more about how you worked your way up to the throne of being the credit king.
Okay, so this is how it started. Like I said, so I was doing all this credit stuff. Not a lot of people knew about it. Only a handful of people knew I did credit, because I did it. I worked a place in Brooklyn, worked in Bensonhurst area in Brooklyn. Okay, so once this whole COVID happened, basically everybody started losing their jobs, losing their hours. And the first thing they told me was, Rich, don't post anything on Facebook, because they knew that I was good at promoting. How I got the job was from people I used to work with at KTU radio station. That's how I got the job.
Wow.
So if I could backtrack even further, I used to own a store, Funworks on Howland Boulevard. I used to own a store, Funworks, right across from McDonald's by Millen. They used to own it. So when Hurricane Sandy happened and a few other issues, the store pretty much went out of business. So I was kind of in between jobs, looking for different things. I was still DJing, I was still doing things, but I always worked 9 to 5. I always had a real job. So all this stuff you see on the computer, it was more like fun and the side thing. My personal life, I try to keep, my girlfriends or whatever I'm doing, I try to keep it separate. There's times you might see my girlfriends posted on Facebook, there's times you might not. But mostly I try not to mix the two things. So when the COVID happened and they told me flat out, Rich, listen, we don't know if we could pay you what you normally get paid. We don't know what's going to happen here. Just don't post on Facebook. When they told me that, the first friggin' thing I did was post it on Facebook. So all these people are like, Rich, you do credit?
Tell someone no, they're going to do the opposite.
Right. So, it's like a little kid with the, taking the cookies out of a cookie jar.
Yeah.
Don't take the cookies. You can take them. So, I already had the celebrity connections and everything. Next thing I know, I got celebrities hitting me up. Rich, you fixed credit? I'm in debt. I'm going to file bankruptcy. I'm like, no, let me look at it. And again, if anybody has credit problems, they can message you and then you can get to me. I look at anyone's credit, no obligation. All I need is your Credit Karma. Look at it, no obligation. National Debt Relief and these debt relief companies, they're a bunch of crooks. I'm not going to get into that on here, but they're all a bunch of crooks for the most part. 90% of them, they're all a bunch of crooks. They're going to take you 6 months to 3 years to get your credit fixed. I'm going to get your credit score fixed within 45 days, if not less. So if you want to get a new house, a new car, more credit. And what you do with more credit, it's your business. You want to get more debt, that's your business. You want to pay off your debt and get no interest credit cards, that's fine. I'll help you with it. But basically, that's how that all started. It was another one of those things where right place, right time was. And then I was in it. It goes back to wrestling. I was in a room one day and I was bidding myself. So not only do I throw wrestling auctions, I was bidding in someone else's page. And the guy goes, wait, we have to stop everything. And he does like a plug pushing the Credit King. I never called myself the Credit King. This guy Ken called it to me, and then everybody started saying it.
That is
wasn't even one of my slogans. I have a lot of slogans. That one I did not come up with.
I never knew that. That's a pretty remarkable.
Well, I was in a room, I'm bidding, and they're like, wait, Richie Sorrentino here, the Credit King? And he did a whole commercial for me. He stopped the whole show. He's like, if you have bad credit, good credit, decent credit, your mother's credit, I can't do it as good as this guy Ken can. But when he did it out of nowhere, and he was like, the Credit King, Richie Sorrentino, I'm like, damn, I am stealing that. But he came up with it. I can't take credit for something I didn't come up with.
That is a speechless. I mean, I'm struggling to come up with words for how remarkable that is. That's such an awesome moment right there.
That's how it went down. That's the God honest truth. I didn't even come up with the name. Like when I worked at the place, they never called me the Credit King. It was never a said thing. It wasn't even thought of. I was good at what I did. There's guys that were like, 12 guys equaled one of me, and the guys, they'll tell you that. But, I studied hard. I would teach seminars. And again, I came from the music business. These guys who worked there came from the music business. So I already had a good in. I don't know how the hell they ended up in credit, but right place, right time.
Definitely.
I got to be honest with you. A lot of things in my life, you just right place, right time.
And as a final question, another question I ask all of my guests as well at the end. What is the biggest change you want to see for yourself?
Biggest change, man? I just want to make money, have good times, achieve goals, and just, and when I say achieve goals, it's just do bigger things, man. Just do, I feel like the past couple of years, especially now with COVID happening and everything went downhill, So I kind of miss doing certain things. Kind of miss real life. We were out a couple of times, a couple weeks back. We were out. Right. I wasn't really doing nothing during this COVID. I was, fixing credit, watching Netflix. I can tell you every apocalypse movie that came out. And I never was a big zombie movie fan, but on Netflix, that's all they show.
Right.
So between that, I wear my aviators. Obviously, big Top Gun fan. So I watch Top Gun a lot. But how many times can you watch the same movies?
Exactly.
But definitely looking forward on the next couple of years. Again, I'm getting older now. I want to settle down, have a family, but I don't want to be forgotten about either. So I know you mentioned earlier about the DJing. I'm kind of getting out of the DJing end of it, but I have no problem emceeing a concert. I have no problem being behind the scenes. It's just one of those things where like you have to evolve with the times. And, I DJed for 20 years. I did it when I was a 17-year-old kid. So I'm going to be 37 in November. So that's 20 years. If you retire 20 years of doing, sanitation or policeman. So for me, it was like, if I got to DJ something here and there, I'll do it. But we might do something and I'll let you know you're invited. All your guests are invited. We might do like the Richie Sorrentino final DJ, like farewell tour. I don't know. We got to come up with a name for it. I don't know if you guys want to come up with a name or you want to come up with one. Feel free. It might be a tour. It might be a one-time thing. I have no clue.
Well, I'm going to tell you this much. I think people are going to want that change in their lives too once it comes through. And nonetheless, that finalizes episode 53 of the Change of Him podcast. For those who want to check us out but have never had the chance to, you can please check out Change of Him podcast, Anchor, Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube. Richie, thank you so much for joining me today.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me. My pleasure. Glad to be here. And guys, check out this podcast every week, guys. Check them out.
You got it. Bye-bye.
All right.